Hello, hello. It's Dr. Susan Bernstein, and I'm so glad to be with all of you. Happy New Year. I know it's 8 days into the year, but it feels like it's just the beginning. Many of us just went back to work for the first time in a few weeks on Monday, and it's only Wednesday. I'm so thrilled to be with you. As some of you know, we've renamed our company from Shift Beyond Strategies to Powerful Under Pressure, which best really captures what we help leaders and their teams to do when the pressure's on. We're here to help you. And today, what I want to talk about with you, we're going to do we'll meet with you weekly on LinkedIn, at least once a week. Today, I want to talk about how to start your 2025 being powerful under pressure. And I invite you now to think about the pressures in the world and your world. Those pressures may be political. We have some big change coming here in the United States with a change in administration. Those may be technological, AI, and what AI is going to do to the future. Those may be climate. I just spoke with my mom last night who lives in LA. And they're having horrendous fires in the Pacific Palisades area. We just have so many different things at a macro level and sometimes at a very micro level. We have things going on with our families, with our health, with our financial situations. So I wanted to share some principles for how to stay powerful under pressure in this difficult, in any difficulty that you may encounter. And the thing that I want to share with you is that holding to your principles keeps you powerful under pressure. What do I mean by that? When we know who we are, what matters to us, what we care about deeply, that allows us to reflect that in how we show up in the world. When things become difficult, we have the ability to stand, literally stand in our power and to be powerful under pressure. But if we don't know what matters to us, then we can get knocked off our ground more easily. If you're in an argument with your manager and you don't know what you need or what you value, you're likely to be swayed more easily than if you know what I really value is cooperation and collaboration, and I need more of that. Or if you're talking to a business partner and you're having a rough time with them and they're saying things that seem mean and unthoughtful, then you can say, I value care, I value consideration. I value treating people with respect. So knowing your principles and what you value keeps you powerful under pressure, because you can reflect back to those. So it's the beginning of the year, and it's a phenomenal time for you to do some reflection about what really matters to you. So I have some reflection questions for you that I'm going to share. And I invite you to grab some paper and a pen, and especially if you're watching this and you'll be able to after the live, then you can pause this and you can give this some time, and it won't take you more than 15 to 20 minutes to do this. And I think that will help. My premise is that will help set you up for a phenomenal 2025 and beyond. So here are some reflection questions that I want to share with you, and that also as a leader, if you lead teams, then you can share these questions with your teams. This can be a really phenomenal exercise to do with your team, an activity to set the tone for the year, and even to have discussions about what comes up with your replies. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, when you've gotten really steamed, angry, upset, frustrated, what principles of yours are being violated? So if somebody says something offensive, what is it that is really getting set off in you? It's because you value or you care about something. What is that? Name that. So think about the times that you've gotten really upset, steamed, frustrated, ticked off, I could say a lot worse. um, when you've gotten angry, what principles of yours are being violated? What values or needs are not getting? Are you not getting to air or feel like they're being violated? I can see that my internet connection is less than ideal right now, so hopefully this will get less choppy. Another question that I have for you, I have five. Another is when you're really passionate or excited, what principles of yours are activated? Think about the things you most enjoy doing. I mean, like for me, it's like being in, I love teaching our How to Be Powerful Under Pressure workshops. And when I get to do that, I'm really passionate, I'm really excited. What principles of mine are activated? Sharing. Um, Sharing knowledge specifically, and especially sharing about the mind-body connection. I find the value of that is in empowering others. So it's a principle of mine to empower others, to give people skills, talents, and abilities to help them bring out their best. So I invite you to think about moments when you've been really passionate, really excited, really on fire, really alive. What are the principles of yours that are getting activated? What ideas, points of view, needs, or values reflect your principles? So maybe there are authors who you feel like, wow, they share what I care about. For example, I have a number of friends who really love, and we'll talk about the author Brene Brown. And she one of the things she's known for talking about is vulnerability. And maybe it's a principle of yours to value vulnerability. It's a principle that you believe that people ought to be able to be vulnerable, particularly maybe it's in the workplace. So I invite you to consider the times, the ideas, the points of view, the needs that you have or values that are reflective of your principles. What are you standing in? Because when you know this, so what I'm going to invite you to do with all these principles is to make a list of them, because it's telling you who you are. I'm a person who values vulnerability. I'm a person who values empowering others. Because when the world comes at us, which it will, it's so interesting. Last night I was reading a review from the deans of major business schools, including my own business school, the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. And our interim dean, Jenny Chapman, was talking about the idea that we can't really predict the future, but we do know that things like AI and other technologies and the change in political administration and some of the things going on, world leaders and the number of billionaires who are controlling our world, those are going to impact us. How exactly could we, get a crystal ball and say what's going to happen on January 1, 2026? Not likely. In fact, each year it gets harder and harder to predict what's going to happen in a year. But when you can write down for yourself what you value, then when the world comes at you, when you feel threatened, when you feel triggered, you can say, I'm standing in the value, or I'm standing in the principle of, and let that be your guide through these difficult moments that are likely to come in our lives. We will have pressure, we will have stress. How we stand in them can be reflective of our principles. Two more questions for you. One is, how do you react when your principles are violated? So if you know this, maybe you get angry, or maybe you pull away, or maybe you want to say something but you don't, or you write a letter to somebody or an email or shoot off a text. I don't know what you do, but when you think about that, how do you actually really want to respond? Are you reactive and going into behaviors that you might regret later? Or are you doing that in a way that's thoughtful? So as you compose this list of your principles, I invite you to also think about, How do you want to respond so that you're being responsive rather than reactive? And then another thought question for you here is, how can you respond powerfully when your principles are violated? What are ways that you can stand up for it? It might be saying, hey, stop. I want to talk about what matters here. I want to talk about the principles we're each coming from. You might write a letter to somebody. This last year, I picked up the phone a lot and called elected officials, congressmen, people, members of Congress, senators. Who is it that you need to talk to? Is it writing a note to a CEO? Is it telling somebody in your local community that you would rather they did something differently? How can you be powerful? How can you stand in a power that keeps everybody whole? And one of the things that I'm fond of talking about is the difference between power over and power with. Power over is coercive. It puts one person down and the other person up. In one way to respond powerfully is to think about how to have power with, how to keep both people in an interaction, or both parties or both points of view in an interaction whole. How do you create that? So I just invite you to think about how you can respond powerfully when your principles are violated. So I hope that that's given you some food for thought. I welcome you to come back with questions, ideas, and anything. Feel free to drop into the chat stream here. Feel free to send me a direct message on LinkedIn, or feel free to email me at hello@powerfulunderpressure.com. I also want to share with you that each month, Powerful Under Pressure hosts a leadership conversation. It's a 60-minute generally conversation about an important leadership topic. And we share some of our points of view, sometimes research, very often actually research. And then we open up a conversation. We foster dialogue between leaders so that you have a chance to learn not only from us, but from other leaders. What are other leaders doing to deal with these problems in the world? What can we learn from them? How can we make some connections too? And one of the things we hear most is that leaders value the conversations that they get to have with other leaders. So we have one coming up on January 22nd, and it's called Start 2025 Strong, 3 Early Warning Signs that Your Team's Resilience is Declining. It's super important to know if your team, if you're a people leader, you need to know if your team's resilience is declining. Why? Because your productivity can decline, your culture can decline, you can lose people. It's really, really important that you keep your resilience high. And especially because many of us are working in a virtual or hybrid world, it can be harder than ever to check for that resilience. If you're in office and you see somebody moping around the office or sighing loudly, you might know. But often we don't pick up those cues that resilience is on the decline. So we're going to host a conversation so that you as a leader are prepared and know what the early warning signs are that your team's resilience is declining. Because when the pressure's on, whatever that pressure may be, it could be a major reorg that your company is doing. It could be that you have a competitor in the marketplace and that's got everybody, frenzied trying to figure out how to keep the company alive, things like that. It could be that you have a difficult interaction with a coworker, a colleague, a business partner. We want to stay resilient, and there's all kinds of pressures in our world, and our mission is really to keep leaders powerful under pressure. So love to have you join us. If you'd like to be part of that January 22nd conversation, it's 10 to 11 Pacific, 1 to 2 Eastern on January 22nd. If you'd like an invitation to our upcoming leadership conversation, please message me for your invitation. You can message me on LinkedIn, just message me directly, a DM, or at hello@powerfulunderpressure.com. And if you're not already, please follow me on LinkedIn to be notified when I go live. It's been great connecting with all of you. I wish you a joyful 2025 and beyond.